Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour presented by Fantasy Points. Just a heads up, if you go on fantasypoints.com, they are doing a pre-order where you can save 25%. Is it, Tyler?
Yeah, you can do 25% with an early bird. Everything that you're going to probably sign up for in say the spring during draft time, because you get Greg Cosell's draft kit, which is awesome. A must. I mean, Greg Cosell is one of the GOATs, and if you want some knowledgeable information, that is the route to go. But yeah, you get that for 25% off. We all know you're going to get it later on, so save a little money. Go get it right now.
Yeah, New Year's resolution, save 25% on fantasypoints.com. Just go ahead and do it. Boys, it is championship week. This has been a weird season. I think we can all agree on that. And we saw some, crazy performances of guys that maybe you didn't even roster going into just a few weeks ago, and you maybe played them because of, this COVID-19, there's injuries. I had to start Zay Jones in a fantasy championship, and it worked out. So I was happy about that. But that's the kind of year it is in 2021. And, it looks like Tyler and I are going to take down an industry league, which we've been working for a couple of years. So it looks like that's going to come to fruition. So I'm pumped about that. My home dynasty league, I've been in the championship now 6 straight years. I won the first 3, lost 2 in a row. We'll see what happens. There's still a lot of time to play. James, we were talking about some of the leagues that you're in. The biggest thing for me is I'm super excited about 2022. I look at my teams. My teams that I lost last week are scoring the most points in the league, and I'm winning 3rd place. And these are teams that I have like Christian McCaffrey, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins on IR. So I'm feeling really good about 2022. But, championship week is always a lot of fun. It's always a little wild, and we are going to recap it for you. But before we do that, it was the holiday season. We haven't talked since Christmas time. New Year's was just a few days ago. So, James, give me the recap. What's been going on with you in the last week or so?
I've been battling in the fantasy playoffs, obviously. I mean, we're champions here, right? That's what we do.
Unless you're rebuilding.
Unless you're rebuilding. A couple of leagues. I'm going up in the finals. I was in 6 semifinals and lost 2 of those. And it's going pretty good, man. New Year is bringing great things already because I think I'm winning a couple.
Nice. Tyler, what's new with you over there? We haven't talked much. It's been a wild week. We usually get on and game at night. It's been quiet.
Yeah. It's been a good holiday. It's been a fun holiday. Busy, like you said. We didn't have chasing points last week because my internet was down for 5 days.
How did you even survive?
I don't know.
He bothered us.
How can you even take a shower with no internet nowadays?
I legit had to cut open, what is it on Star Wars that he hides in?
The Tauntaun.
A Tauntaun. I had to cut open a Tauntaun and hang out in there while our internet was getting fixed for 5 days. It's warm. It's the smell though.
Smells better on the outside, right?
Yeah, you think they smell bad on the outside. It's been a crazy week. It's been fun, but chasing points, everybody, is done because we are full time again. We are back. We're going every week, and we got a lot of great stuff in store. A lot of good info you're going to want to get and need. I mean, our 2020 draft class, film watching and all that stuff is going to be coming up quick. A lot of people declaring. Matt Corral avoiding a major injury.
He avoided that?
My knee,
X-rays were negative. Yes. Good. All good. So his draft stock staying put. So it looks like all the major prospects are avoiding major hits.
Nice.
But yeah, it's going to be fun. Like Doug said, Trade Addict 7, we're battling Riley. We look pretty good right now.
My son gets to call me daddy again.
Yeah, it's been a ride in that league. It's been fun, and I mean it's all worth it in the end when you win a title. I'm gonna probably lose to a good friend of mine that is in it's called Hold the Mayo. It's a Mayo Clinic league, and I'm probably gonna lose to him. He won it the first year. I won it 2 years after that, and now we were back at it in the championship, and it looks like he won because of the sun god himself.
Ooh, Amon-Ra. It'll be
Oh,
interesting.
praise the sun god.
Next week, I believe, Tyler, we're redrafting the rookie class, so it's going to be interesting
Yes, sir.
where the sun god himself ends up in that redraft. That's going to be a fun episode. I did want to give a shout out to the Chasing Points guys, to Chase Vernon, for filling in for us every other week during the season. You guys are awesome, and we appreciate you. I am happy to be back full time. This is when you have that energy transfer of like the end of the season, you're kind of like, and then the season ends and then Dynasty starts up and you get that like that injection of energy again.
Of
It's what I'm feeling.
trades here, trades there. Just wait, everybody's inbox when you see my team name.
This week in trades has been crazy because in a lot of leagues that we're in, trading has been open. So people are, I would say, overpaying to try and win a championship, which I totally understand. So, I'm sure some of us took advantage of that. I had some pretty juicy offers out there, and I took advantage of a couple. And then some I was like, So, that's always an interesting twist. In my home dynasty league, we have trading shut off a few weeks ago, but there's leagues that you could trade right up until today if you wanted to. So that always makes it a little wild. So you can always kind of get a boon in value for your players. But let's roll into this week. I want to try to keep this as not sweet and short. Obviously, if we want to talk about some cool things that happened, absolutely. But I will give you the recap of the game, kind of give you an overlook. And then you guys feel free. I'll bring in, chime in if you got any observations or anything that stood out to you in the game. We'll obviously talk about it. So let's start off. There was 9 1:00 games today, which was awesome for if you sat on your ass like me and watched Red Zone all day, because that's all I did for the last time this season. So I made a point to be able to do that today. It was the Bills versus the Falcons. In this one, it's really interesting to see Devin Singletary at the end of the season take over this backfield. He led the way, 23 carries, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen did not throw a touchdown in this game. Dawson Knox put up a bagel, so you're probably starting him. You're super disappointed. Stephon Diggs doesn't do anything extraordinary, but Josh Allen did rush for 2 touchdowns, which is always part of his ceiling when you bake that in. The Falcons, they were competitive for a while, like they have been in a lot of games, but I feel so bad for Matt Ryan. No Calvin Ridley. The offensive line is in shambles, and I thought he's been playing, all things considered, okay. Kyle Pitts has a long 60-yard reception, pulled his hamstring, did come back into the game, went over 1,000 yards. So Tyler, congrats. He went over 1,000 yards on the season. Next week, he has the opportunity to break the record with the extra week. So it's kind of like an asterisk type thing, but it is what it is.
Hey, I heard a podcast that said, hey, they were at 14 games before and everybody forgot about it.
That's
so
fair.
There should be no asterisks. It's just how the league is.
Yeah. For the Falcons, nothing special here. Russell Gage didn't do much. Mike Davis fell into the end zone. Cordero Patterson continued his kind of downslide at the end of the season. So it's like he was the hot name in the streets. He was a hot pickup, in week 4 or 5, 6. Really rode you to some wins, but now he's done nothing. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Falcons do with the backfield. But James, what do you got here for the Bills and the Falcons?
Devin Singletary.
Yeah.
He just took over 23 carries, 110 yards, got in the end zone twice. Zack Moss, and I'm going to be the first one to say it, Tyler, so you don't bust my chops in the offseason. We weren't here last week. I would have said it last week, but Zack Moss is definitely donezo for me. He's going to be one of those guys that I'm going to try to just slip in as an extra.
Yes,
here you go.
Good.
Here you go kind of thing. Yeah, that hurts. And on the other side of the ball, we saw some Mike Davis action. So that was nice.
He was running hard today. He looked good. He's a bowling. He's like the rolling ball of butcher knives, right? Like that's just the way that he runs. Kind of like old school Devonta Freeman. Like he runs hard. But yeah, Tyler, anything for this game? This is your team, the Falcons. Have we heard anything about Calvin Ridley? Are you going out and trying to acquire him? Are you selling him?
I don't know. Like it's
tough, right?
It's difficult for me. I do think he comes back and he does play next year, but I don't know if it's with the Falcons. And if it's not with the Falcons, who is it with? What is his target share going to look like? Because he was getting everything with Atlanta. I mean, they weren't really targeting Gage. It was Pitts, Calvin Ridley, and Cordero Patterson back when, the offense was actually humming. The fact that he hasn't said anything is disturbing to me. And it's starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, is it the team not trying to get a hold of him? Is it him not contacting the team? But if your employer, because he is quote unquote an employer, you would think that he would try to keep in contact with them and keep up to date with them. And that to me is kind of a hard pill to swallow. I've bought Ridley in a ton of spots. And there was actually one spot I was actually thinking about giving Darnell Mooney for Ridley, and it's a rebuild, it's UDPL, and I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't give up Mooney for Ridley just because the age difference, A, and then B, the uncertainty of, is he coming back? Is he actually going to retire? Does he like his life without football? And does football mean that much? And the fact that he hasn't contacted the team or anything kind of makes me feel a little sick to my stomach about his true love for football. And going back to the Falcons, they need a running back. The fact that they traded with Denver and then they took Richie Grant in front of, they took Richie Grant instead of Javonte as well because they had 2 picks.
Yeah.
If Javonte was in Atlanta, oh my God, like, amazing. Like, I get their offensive line is actually very comparable to Denver. Like, their 2 offensive lines. But man, Javonte on that turf would have been great to see. Atlanta, you messed up. You should have drafted a running back because this is what an offense looks like when you can't have Matt Ryan do play action. And when you can't do play action and the teams aren't really scared of you, you get no time to throw to Kyle Pitts. But hey, Kyle Pitts, over 1,000 yards. It was inconsistent, but it happened. I think this is a building year, personally. I think Pitts is going to be better. You even have Kelsey saying, this guy's going to break my record. So these mean nothing to Kelsey. Like, he broke a record, and Kelsey's like, Pitts is going to break it anyways. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I agree. Good for Pitts. Cool. 1 touchdown. Hopefully there's only everywhere to go. He's taking over the Julio Jones role and not scoring touchdowns. So hopefully next year we see some positive regression.
Usually it's 4 or 5.
True.
So there will be some positive regression. There you go.
True, true. All right, let's get into the next game. We're going to talk about James's Giants. We don't need to talk. What?
Singletary.
Yeah.
Fool's gold next year. If you have the chance to trade him. Like, I mean, we've seen a sample share. We've seen it enough. This could be the pinnacle. It's cold weather type thing, and
it's the
end of the season.
Of Devin Singletary's career finally showed up for fantasy.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll be an interesting thing to follow in the offseason.
Interesting indeed.
So let's transition over to James's team, the Giants. Now, we don't need to talk too long about them. They put up 3 points. They looked like complete garbage. But Saquon Barkley went over 100 yards for the first time in a long time. We know this team, the pieces that they have on this team going into next year. They have Kadarius. They have Kenny Golladay. Evan Ingram is a free agent. They still have Darius Slayton. Sterling Shepard will be back, I believe. So I think there's a chance for New York to bounce back next year. But it was encouraging seeing Barkley go over 100 yards for the first time since I can remember. For the Bears, David Montgomery doesn't have a great day, but he does score a couple of touchdowns. Darnell Mooney, a nice bounce back. He's had a few, low weeks, 7 for 69 and a touchdown. I'm really interested to see where Allen Robinson ends up next year. I think it's just a lost season for him between injuries, COVID, and just not being able to get it going. What I saw from Allen Robinson, I was at one of the games. I thought he still looked like Allen Robinson. So that's a player that, if you're on a win now team, you might be able to go out and acquire relatively inexpensively. He's a free agent, so he's going to get to hit his choice of where he's going to go. And I think he can still be a wide receiver 1 in this league. But James, I'll let you take over for this one. Giants-Bears.
Giants-Bears. David Montgomery, amazing. All right. You won the lottery with him if you have him on your team. And that's pretty much it. Like, I know you mentioned Saquon Barkley. It's really nice for him to see 21 carries, hit 102 yards. Only got 1 target. So still very, very concerning.
Last couple of weeks, he hasn't had any work in the passing game.
Yeah, Glennon also only threw it 11 times.
Regardless.
And he had 4 completions. So let's not go.
Listen.
Glennon can see over the offensive line. And
Tyler, let James talk. It's his team.
Jesus.
It's his team. You shut your mouth.
Take a ticket and stand in line. Can't even go to the deli and get a sandwich without this guy bumping into me, knocking me over, cutting me off.
Whiz wit or whiz without?
Yeah, whiz wit. No, but I'm missing the old Barkley. It's still yet to see whether or not he can become that. The Giants have a lot of work. Offensive line, quarterback,
coaching,
GM. There's a lot of things going on. 2 first-round picks, great.
Yeah,
great. We need all the help we can get. Hopefully one of them doesn't get traded away. We actually take advantage of those first rounders this year. And we'll see. It's a work in progress. I'm not expecting anything from the Giants for at least the next 2 years. So that's what scares me away with Saquon Barkley. We touched on it in week 15 when Tyler and I went back and forth a little bit about his trade. But like I was saying, David Montgomery, I love it. They're going to feed him the ball. They're going to continue to feed him the ball. Allen Robinson, I think he's done. I don't know if he could actually pick where he's going to go. He may get a couple of options and
He'll get a 1-year contract.
Yeah, like I could see him winding up in like New England or something like that, like those older wide receivers that just wind up in New England. That would be him. Mooney has been the number one on this squad the whole year. It's not a surprise that he was the leading receiver. Mm-hmm. Cole Kmet was a little bit off. He had 5 targets. He missed one in the end zone, which really
all season
up my day.
I mean, he hasn't caught a touchdown.
Jimmy Graham and Jesper Horsted have been sniping them.
What a first name.
And Graham only had 1 target today.
Jesper. Love that.
Yes.
I don't know. I think they should hold on to Dalton for 1 more year, just in case Fields doesn't pan out.
I mean, the fact that Dalton is actually showing up, I don't know.
I mean, he showed up and played. He was 18 to 35. It's not like he was anything spectacular.
The cards are out. Like, they're still out on all these rookie quarterbacks except Mac Jones. I mean, Mr. Vanilla Ice Cream himself has proven he's vanilla ice cream. Hey, he could be that New York vanilla ice cream, which is amazing. So
careful what you say there, Tyler.
New York vanilla ice cream is great.
All right, let's keep it moving because we got a lot of games. All right, the next one was the fantasy game of the day, like on paper, right? You see the Bengals, you see the Chiefs. This one was a wild game. The Chiefs are up early. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is ruled out. Darrell Williams fills in really nicely with 14 carries, 88 yards on the ground, and 2 touchdowns. So if you put him in, congrats, you got an RB1. Awesome. Patrick Mahomes has a good game. Tyreek Hill, though, these last 2 weeks, if you won a championship and you had Tyreek Hill on your roster, congrats, because he didn't do anything for you. Travis Kelce comes back from the COVID list, scores a touchdown, but doesn't do much in yardage. He gets you about 10 points, which isn't spectacular. We see a touchdown from Demarcus Robinson. But this is all about the Bengals. They came storming back. Jamar Chase has a historic. You know how we saw A.J. Brown take over the game last week for the Titans? Jamar Chase took over this game. 11 for 266 and 3 touchdowns. He set the rookie receiving record for yardage in a game. If you had Jamar Chase in your teams like Tyler and I did, we got some big dubs this week.
We had the Burrow Chase double up, and like every time I saw Chase score a touchdown, I could feel Riley's death like in Minnesota, just his soul leaving his body. It's
these last 2 weeks, Joe Burrow has
over 1,000
yards passing, and his completion percentage is like 75 or 80%. 9, he had four last week, so 8 touchdowns. Joe Burrow, this is the Joe Burrow. This is his ceiling, and he did it in back-to-back games. I am so encouraged. And this is after the finger injury, guys.
And he got hurt like 5 or 6 times today. But you
Joe
know what?
Burrow is freaking good. He's looked so good the last 2 weeks.
You know what the best thing about Burrow is? When he gets hurt, he doesn't lie on the ground like a couple of quarterbacks that we talk about all the time. Burrow gets up.
Kyler.
Yeah. Man. Jamar Chase, if you were able to buy him when everybody was saying he can't catch the ball
preseason,
like
told you to buy,
you won. Like everybody was like, oh, I would sell him for 2022 first plus I don't know, Nico Collins, who was a preseason darling, and it's like, why? Like this guy was better than Jefferson in college,
and he just broke Jefferson's rookie receiving record.
Yeah.
Which was like hasn't been done that season. He broke what was it Anquan Bolden's record, which is old. He came in the year after Jefferson and was like, hold my beer.
Yeah, I mean,
like
and then there was like rumors of Chase with his lady friend. There was so many buying opportunities for Jamar Chase, and he is proving that. We're gonna redraft rookies next week, and we're gonna go through. But overall, Jamar Chase is the 101 in non-superflex, is my guess. And in rookie drafts, it's not even a question.
Yeah, I think the thing with Chase is there's also the debate was, can T. Higgins exist? Can they coexist? And the answer is yes. Now, I know T. Higgins didn't have a great game today, but the last, 4 out of the last 5 weeks for T. Higgins, he's been balling out too. So there is definitely enough to go around for Chase and Higgins to both be wide receiver ones in this offense. Joe Burrow is now the leading passer for Cincinnati in a season, and he did it in the 17 games. He didn't need an extra game to do it. Like he broke that record. And Joe Burrow, like this, if you have a lot of Bengals on a dynasty team, like we talk about UDP all the time. I have Burrow, Chase, Higgins, and Mixon. Like I'm smiling from ear to ear with that team. Just seeing what the ceiling of that team is crazy.
And Doug's actual name is Coach Taylor. So that's why he owns all those people.
My middle name is Zach as well.
Zach.
James, did you have anything to add with this game?
Yeah, it's going to be a little interesting next season how the Kansas City is operating. We slowly see their game script switching from a very, very big pass heavy to a more run heavy kind of a game. I mean, Darrell Williams out of nowhere, 14 for 88, 2 touchdowns, crushed it. It seemed like they wanted to run the ball, and the commentator said it time and time again. They wanted to run the ball downhill. They changed their script. It seems that maybe Tyreek Hill didn't come fully back from when he was a little banged up earlier in the season, and that may be why they're doing that. And it kind of stalled out the offense on a couple drives. I'm very interested to see what happens with CEH in the offseason, and if they become a tandem like Gore did today, 3 for 37. I mean, is that CEH next season each week? Up against the good, it's going to be interesting. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous for his value, and it might be a buying opportunity for that. And that's about it.
They need a wide receiver too, and that would be a landing
needed
spot
that
for
for
Allen
3 years.
Robinson. Like they need a big time wide receiver too, a big bodied guy. Josh Gordon did not work out. But Mahomes, you can clearly see he needs another option. And Sammy Watkins, as much as we like to hate on him, I mean, Sammy in the playoffs last season helped.
He was a
Mahomes
good fit
out.
for them.
Yeah, he's a perfect fit. And that's what they need. They need a possession guy. And this draft is chock full of wide receivers. And if, say, Garrett Wilson from Ohio State comes in and becomes Kansas City's number 2, whew, you're going to see that being a high draft pick. It's going to be a fun offseason for receivers.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next game. The Tennessee Titans, now the number 1 seed in the AFC, by the way, which is just wild to me. Because I don't think the Tennessee Titans are all that great. But they blow out the Dolphins here, 34-3. Dolphins riding a 7-game win streak. They're the only team in NFL history to lose 7 straight and win 7 straight in the same season. So congrats. Tua has a rough game here.
He looked bad.
Completion
it was
percentage,
a wet game.
Way down. Jalen Waddle, this was a great matchup for him. He goes 3 for 47 on 7 targets. Devontae Parker, 13 targets, but only turns in 4 for 46. The Miami offense was just not good. I want to talk about the Titans. So the Titans win, and they score 34 points with A.J. Brown getting 2 catches for 41 yards after that awesome performance in his return last week, where he did take over that game. We see Anthony Fersker and Jeff Swaim score. Cool. I want to talk a little bit about Donta Foreman. So here's a guy that off the scrap heap, like I picked him up in a ton of dynasty leagues earlier this season, because I was like, well, he's a backup to Derrick Henry. Henry was getting a little dinged up, so I got Foreman in some leagues. But Foreman's a guy that, again, an Achilles injury ended his tenure in Houston. He tore his Achilles on a touchdown run of all things. And he's a couple years removed from it. And to me, Donta Foreman looks pretty good. Like, he has that big body, almost the Garrett Blunt, Marshawn Lynch,
Ramondre
Stevenson type of body to him, where I'm like, Foreman he's gonna stay in the league. Now,
hey, Atlanta, you had him on your roster.
Yes, they did. But he's been the perfect replacement for Derrick Henry. And Tennessee's the number 1 seed in the AFC. They might get Henry back. But Foreman has been really impressive, especially coming off that Achilles. And we've been saying it here for a few weeks now, is that he's kind of setting the bar for what Cam Akers might be when he fully comes back.
No, I agree. I love Foreman. I love Cam Akers. I love the takes. I hope Cam Akers makes a full return and we see him in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But getting back to the Miami side of the ball, the Dolphins couldn't swim this week. It was water everywhere. They couldn't swim. Tua drowned pretty much in the backfield, got sacked 4 times. They couldn't run the ball against Tennessee's defense, and that, I think, stalled everything. couldn't get the ball moving, couldn't open up play action, couldn't get Waddle involved, even on wraparounds. It just didn't work this week. Like Tennessee knew it was coming and they knew how to stop it, and they executed perfectly. And that's pretty much why Miami lost. And Tua's going to deal with this going forward. Like, these are just bumps in the road. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think he's still in a very big learning process. Didn't get much playing time last year, was injured. This year is like really his first year as the real quarterback in that system. So I'm giving him time. I'm giving him a pass. If anything, that's about it. Only players that I like from Miami are Tua, Gesicki, and Waddle. Everybody else, see you later. Bye.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Let's move on to the next game. We got the Las Vegas Raiders, last second field goal, beating the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts offense in this one, Carson Wentz, I don't know what, they just weren't really actively throwing the ball. Taylor has another good game. He has 108 yards on the ground. He scores a touchdown. So he has
Edgerrin James record.
Yeah, broke Edgerrin James record. Michael Pittman leads the team in targets, catches all 6 for 47. It was a tough matchup for Pittman. The Raiders have been really good against wide receivers this season. T.Y. Hilton catches a really fluky touchdown for the
Don't
Raiders.
chase those points.
No, well, you can, if you're playing next week, then you got problems. But Las Vegas, Josh Jacobs carries the load, gets dinged up, gets you a touchdown, which is great. But Hunter Renfrow, a couple quiet weeks in a row, really redeemed himself. Almost
quiet,
had a second.
7 for 76, and a touchdown is quiet for Hunter Renfrow.
Well, no, the last 2 weeks have been quiet for Renfrow, and then this week he almost had a second long touchdown, which would have really put him over the top. I told you about my desperation Zay Jones play earlier because I was so beat up at wide receiver, and it worked. So that makes me feel good. Other than that, there's not really much about this game that I really gleaned from it. So Tyler, what do you have?
I mean, Taylor is going to dominate. Wentz is holding this team back, and you can tell it's if they can stop the run, if anybody can stop the run, which seems impossible, they got to have Wentz beat him. And Wentz, I mean, it's a Jekyll and Hyde. What Wentz are you going to get that game? Are you going to get the terrible decision? And
he's been in game manager mode the last couple of weeks.
Yes, and you could tell they are definitely holding it back. Like, hey, let's not make any mistakes.
Scared of turnovers.
Yep, and it's working. I mean, except for today. And the Raiders, I don't know what to think of the Raiders. Like,
they're the weirdest team. They're so bad some weeks, they're okay some weeks, and then there's some weeks they look good. They're just a weird team.
They're without Waller. They lost Ruggs. They're probably going to draft another receiver in the first round because they need somebody. But hey, you know what? Zay Jones was a hot commodity his rookie year. He was a second round pick. He has lots of talent. Hey, second round pick in rookie drafts usually, and in the NFL draft by Buffalo, he just didn't pan out. Hey, Robert Woods didn't pan out in Buffalo either. And look at Robert Woods. Zay Jones could be a really good late season stash, and he could be their number 2 next year.
Yeah, I picked him up for a minimum in the contract year league, and I only signed him for 1 year. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll extend him and keep him. You never know. It's the kind of a player that's really super intriguing. Brian Edwards doesn't look like he's it, unfortunately.
Yeah,
which pains me. All right, let's get to the biggest score of the week. That was the New England Patriots dropping a 50-burger against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 50-10. Mac Jones has plenty of time. He scores 3 touchdowns. Pretty easy peasy. Damian Harris gets you 2 touchdowns, only 9 carries. He was nursing a hamstring injury.
Yeah, he looked a little banged up.
Yeah, but he gives you 2 touchdowns. I think he's got 14 touchdowns on the season, which is phenomenal. He doesn't offer a lot through the passing game, but to be able to get 14 touchdowns from any running back is definitely a big deal. Ramondre Stevenson. Here's a guy that I loved Stevenson going to the Patriots because he reminded me a little bit of LeGarrette Blount meets Steven Jackson, but a little bit more nimble. He gets the majority of the workload here, 19 for 107 and 2 touchdowns. He's almost impossible to take down on first contact. He is a quintessential Bill Belichick type of running back.
He's Kareem Hunt. That's pretty much a comp. Kareem Hunt
his contact balance isn't quite as good,
but
he's more powerful.
Yeah.
Other performances in this one, Jacoby Myers, second career touchdown. He has a nice day. Kendrick Bourne, he contributes. We didn't really see much else. For Jacksonville, Laquan Treadwell again. I mean, Treadwell's been averaging what, 70 yards a game over the last 6 weeks?
Hey, Atlanta, you had him on your roster too.
He had a
This
sick,
season.
he had a ridiculous catch in this where he outmuscled the corner, and I was like, whoa, like Laquan Treadwell looked like a first-round receiver.
Yeah.
What do we think about this? Do we think that he sticks there and actually has a role, or is this just
Yes.
I think the sample size for 6 weeks is like, I think he sticks.
I think he sticks. He will be 27 next season, and he
Heading
could
into
be,
his prime of his physical, being.
I mean, he still can't separate, but they're using him as he should have been used. The Minnesota couldn't do it. Atlanta, I don't know why they didn't allow him to be used, but he just went through and landed on the system. And I think Trevor Lawrence likes throwing him the ball because he's got good hands.
He's leading the team in targets.
He's got good hands.
Mm-hmm.
Laviska, I would not be shocked if he's actually traded next season to another team. That's not it. I mean, why not? Why can't he be it? This Jacksonville offense, though, they need a coach that can help build Trevor Lawrence because he looks bad.
Yeah, three more picks today.
He's making horrible decisions, like terrible choices. These interceptions he's throwing aren't fluky. They're all on him. I mean, it's bad. His decision making isn't great. His play action passing, the way he goes through his reads is not good. He's very slow on his reads. It's yikes city for what you spent on. I traded Jamar Chase to get Trevor Lawrence. Thankfully,
thank you, Tyler.
I traded Trevor Lawrence to get
Trey Lance,
who we'll talk about later. Yeah. But I fear for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, the hype was all over the place. I loved him. And now if I have him, I'm very nervous.
Yeah. And I will tell you in this one, N'Keal Harry was a healthy scratch. And his replacement up off the practice squad, Christian Wilkerson, 8 targets, 4 for 42, and 2 touchdowns. N'Keal Harry in New England is absolutely done.
Hey, Laquan Treadwell. You never know.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be interesting because I think they're probably going to release Harry or trade him for like a 7th round pick on draft day because he just ain't it. I mean, he showed a couple of small flashes for the Pats, but I would be super interested to see if he could resurrect his career somewhere else. And I don't mind having him on the back end of my dynasty rosters at this point.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I do want to talk about N'Keal Harry and Tim and I remember that combine. And Tim and I, after the combine, thinking to ourselves, N'Keal Harry was so dominant in that combine. Like he looked like an elite player, and it was not true. And the other player in that combine that looked elite was Paris Campbell, and he's been hurt all the time, but those two in the combine looked dominant. So watch your college tape and figure out some things because there are some smart people out there, smarter than I am, that once told me that N'Keal Harry can't separate.
Doug, you brought up an excellent point about Christian Wilkerson. Like, I'm just going to keep an eye out and see what he does during the playoffs. Pats are going to go into the playoffs. See if he gets utilized. See if he can pick up the blocking schemes. That's what Harry really had trouble with. Wide receivers for New England are notorious for blocking the run because it's a run-first offense. If Wilkerson can hold up, I mean, he may be an eye for next season because the way Mac Jones played, it was the 15th draft pick against the first round draft pick, the first overall draft pick. And man, I think Jacksonville may have gotten it wrong. Mac Jones, a perfect game manager, QBR 94.5, solid, over 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's playing smart. Great coaching has a lot to do with it. Yeah, but you know what? Mac Jones.
If Trevor was on New England, he would be outstanding. And
Would
it's
he,
because I do think so, because I think coaching matters. And the fact that Trevor Lawrence was put in the situation that he is and how bad it went, like we're not talking about a coach that just didn't do well. We're talking about a coach that burned the whole place down. And Trevor,
he lit a match.
Trevor's confidence in himself and everything, it probably isn't there anymore. And that matters with a young kid. So, I mean, a kid that's been winning his whole entire life and goes into a dumpster fire, like Jacksonville and how Urban ran that, like that's tough. And it's going to be interesting to see if he can come out of that.
So he's your second chance candidate for 2022. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if
Or
I would
you're gonna
actually
have to
trade
wait-
for him
You're gonna
because
have
his
to wait
price,
like at least 2 years for
his
this
price
for this
is
kid
still
to pay
high.
off.
His price is still going to be high, and I don't know if I'm willing to pay that price. I'd rather go for somebody else.
That's fair. All right, let's keep it moving. I want to talk about the craziest thing I saw today. Tampa Bay and the New York Jets.
Craziest
Oh my
person?
God.
That too. So Jets are winning this game. Tampa Bay comes screaming back. Third quarter, all of a sudden, I'm like watching Red Zone, and they're showing Antonio Brown taking off his shirt, taking off his gloves. He's like waving to people, giving up, throwing the deuces, then the number one. Apparently, there was some sort of thing like Arians told him to get into the game. AB's like, nah, and he just left. And they released him. I think Antonio Brown will never play in the
Never.
NFL again after
Nope.
that. That was the Vontae Davis, but not done in a tactful way, retiring during the game. Just wild to me. We all know that AB, obviously, he needs help. That's clear. But I don't think he ever plays in the NFL again. Now, to get to the game itself, Tom Brady, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, does it with Mike Evans, who's a little banged up. This Cyril Grayson kid out of nowhere, because their
Track
depth chart,
star from LSU. Never
their
played
depth
football.
chart is no Godwin, no Perryman, no AB. So Cyril Grayson steps up. Gronk has a great game with over 100 yards on 7 receptions. Ronald Jones gets hurt. The running backs don't do anything against the Jets, this is like a smash start for any Tampa Bay running back, and that didn't work out. For the Jets, nothing crazy here. Michael Carter looked good until he left the game with a concussion.
Yeah.
I am going out and trying to acquire Michael Carter this offseason.
Yes.
I think he is very, very good. But yeah, that's all. It just AB was the wildest thing I saw today by far.
Yeah, the funny part about the AB thing was that he was 6 receptions away from getting I believe, $350,000 bonus.
There was a
Or
bunch
was it
of
a
one touchdown.
666?
There was like almost
It was
$1 million
something.
worth of incentives that were easily
Yeah.
reachable in the next 2 games.
Yeah, and well, he obviously doesn't care, and we bid you goodwill. See you. Goodbye.
I want
Good day,
to
sir.
know. I
Good
want
day,
to know what the Uber driver thought when AB came into the Uber with his football pads on, and just like a bag, like he had no shirt on, everything. I'm guessing he didn't even change. I'm guessing he just grabbed his bag, didn't change, just left. Like he got the Uber. He's like, "Hey, take me. I need to get some food. I want to go chill." Like, AB, you done? We all thought that, hey, this guy could play another 2 years and be pretty good. He's done probably in the NFL in literally 2 weeks. Like, this is AB to a T. Like, and the fact is, we aren't even surprised. That
His
is
30
the
for
crazy
30
thing.
is going to be wild.
It's gonna be great, and he is literally one of the greatest receivers we've ever been able to watch. And his time in Pittsburgh was insane. He was so good.
Mhm.
But man, I don't know what happened, if it was actually like
It's that
concussions. But man, he went
Ego, like
off.
who knows?
I do want to talk about like Michael Carter, huge buy. Another player. Don't forget about Elijah Mitchell. We'll talk about him. Elijah Moore. Let's talk about Mitchell. But
Yeah.
Zach Wilson, another meh game. These quarterbacks, yikes. Like we have Dave in the chat talking about the 2021 quarterback class. It could be one of the most overrated classes we've ever came to. And I agree. Like, this quarterback class was so hyped. Like Fields, Lance, Trevor Lawrence, and people loved Mac Jones all the same. And I know there was truthers out there for Zach Wilson saying, hey, he's got Pat Mahomes ceiling. Man, all wrong.
Who said that?
Like,
There's only
all
one
wrong.
Pat Mahomes, people. Like,
There's only one
come on.
Pat Mahomes, and hey, he's even playing like Zach Wilson. But
Sometimes.
it's a crazy world we live in. Yeah, and Le'Veon Bell. I was watching highlights of this game, and I'm like, who the heck is this number 8? Yeah, man.
Yep.
They miss Fournette and Godwin.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see them try and repeat as Super Bowl champions.
Yeah,
Tom Brady, you got even more responsibility now. Congrats. All right, before we get on to the next game, I did want to give a shout out to Trophy Smack, one of our sponsors. today for this podcast. Use code DHHRing. Obviously, it's championship week. If you haven't gone out and bought a trophy, a grill, a belt, or anything like that already, go on to trophysmack.com. Use code DHHRing, and you will get a free $60 value championship ring. So you need to do that. You owe it to whoever won your league to give them an awesome, awesome trophy, and then to be able to pass it around. I have a Trophy Smack belt that, unfortunately, I have to ship back because I didn't repeat this year, but I'm coming for it next year, Tyler. You know this. And it's a beautiful belt. It has our names on it. It's awesome. I got to enjoy it for a year, and now I'll hug it. I'll give it a good kiss, maybe with some lipstick so I can leave that on there for whoever wins it.
You know what we should do, Doug? We should
Yeah.
get Trophy Smack rings for our title in Trade Addict 7 because we have all but locked that baby up thanks to Devontae Adams.
Yeah, Devontae Adams killing me in another league. Come on,
I
man.
mean, I would love to get a couple rings to celebrate this victory.
They're quite heavy, gentlemen.
Yeah, they're girthy.
They've got some. I mean, in Jersey,
Tyler
these are
Girthiner.
multi-purpose.
Girthiner.
These are multi-purpose rings in Jersey. They got some weight to them. You put a couple on, you win a couple championships, and you roll the boardwalk. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Jersey.
I love it. I love it. All right,
Trophy Smack, hit them up.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get to the next game. I don't have much for this game. It's the Eagles winning over the Washington football team 20-16. And this one, Antonio Gibson was out. There was also no J.D. McKissick again. So it was all Jarrett Patterson. I like what I saw. I like Jarrett Patterson. I liked him coming out of Buffalo. I've got him in a bunch of dynasty leagues. 12 for 57 and a touchdown, and 5 for 41 through the air, which was great. Terry McLaurin has a okay game against Darius Slay. I actually benched him in a league because he Slay locked him up a couple of weeks ago. But 7 for 61 on 8 targets. Another rough day for Terry McLaurin.
Get the man a quarterback.
Yes, absolutely. For Philadelphia, no passing touchdowns, no rushing touchdowns for Jalen Hurts. So a bit of a disappointment there. It was all Boston Scott with his 2 touchdowns, getting the lead role with Miles Sanders out with his broken hand. And then for receiving, you got Dallas Goedert, solid game on 7 targets, 6 for 71. Devonta Smith, very hit or miss in his rookie year, but I like what I see going forward. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Devontae Smith going forward, but it's going to be hit or miss. We see this offense looking more and more like a run-heavy offense every single week. I wouldn't be surprised if they made another move in the offseason for another running back. Miles Sanders getting a little bit up in age, dealing with injuries year after year. I believe he's coming up on a contract. He may or may not be. Don't vet me on that.
He's got 1 year left, and then I think he's a free agent in 2023.
So there's that. And they're in a rebuild. I think Jalen Hurts did enough this season to secure himself another shot at the starting role next year for the Eagles. I think they keep Minshew as a viable backup and to test Hurts in the offseason, keeping him growing. And we said it months ago about Jarrett Patterson. And Tyler, I will tip my hat to you, sir. You put me on to him. I watched some film. Patterson crushed it today. And up against a top 12 run defense in the Eagles, he did a great job.
Yeah, never caught a pass in college, and or was it 8 passes, and he got 5 today. I do want to give a shout out to Al in the league that Doug is talking about with the belt. Our friend Al is in the championship game, and he actually slid Patterson in the matchup. Like the cojones you have to have.
I started him in a league, and I almost put him in my dynasty league because James Conner was a game time decision, and I almost put Patterson in, and I waited, and then I went from Conner to Justin Jackson.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, Patterson, he's Gibson was the darling this offseason. I mean, there's always one, and he just couldn't stay healthy, and
forever dinged up.
Yeah, we all thought that Gibson was going to be the pass catcher too, and that never came about. But I mean, this team looks pretty good, but they need a quarterback. And if they were to get a quarterback, Terry McLaurin's value will skyrocket. So if you have an opportunity to get McLaurin for a pretty decent price, I would actually do that because he's 26. He'll be 27 next season. In season, and I think he's a pretty good buy right now.
I would agree. Let's keep it moving. We had the Rams beating the Baltimore Ravens 20-19, so a nice close game here. Stafford, He hasn't looked great the last few weeks. 2 touchdowns here, 2 picks. Michelle gets all the running back carries. He had 19. They had 20 carries as a team, and Stafford had one. 19 for 74. Did get you a touchdown. So if you started Sony Michel again, he was solid for you. He has been for the last month. Obviously, Cam Akers, he's active, but he didn't play in this game. Cooper Kupp. This was a matchup where I thought Cooper Kupp was absolutely going to smash, and he still had a great game. 6 for 95 and a touchdown. But for Cooper Kupp standards, that's pretty quiet.
Are you selling? I honestly want to know Cooper Kupp.
I think you have
price.
to.
Yeah,
I think you have
easily.
to. I mean, when you have a season like this where he's probably going to break Megatron's yardage record and he's scoring a ton of touchdowns,
he's going to break. Did he break Michael Thomas's reception record?
I don't know for sure. If not, he's going to probably.
Yeah, he's going to. Yeah,
this is the pinnacle. You sell at the pinnacle.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Van Jefferson. Okay, Odell Beckham has a touchdown. Tyler Higbee, congrats. If you had the cojones to start Tyler Higbee, cool. For the Ravens, there was no Lamar Jackson, so it was Tyler Huntley, who looked, I thought, pretty good again in this one. Mark Andrews continues his dominant performance with 6 targets, 6 for 89. I'm really interested in Baltimore next year when they get Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins back with a healthy Lamar Jackson, with Mark Andrews, with Rashad Bateman. I think Baltimore could be – we've seen flashes for Baltimore this year, and I think if they get an actual run game back, they're not relying on Devonta Freeman and Latavius Murray and Le'Veon Bell and the corpse of my dead grandmother. Like, they could be –
Sammy Watkins?
How much did she sign for? I want to know.
League minimum, veteran minimum.
Who's her agent? Veteran minimum.
Veteran minimum. I think the Ravens could be a really exciting team next year because Dobbins and Edwards are both really good players, and I think that they could unlock everything else.
Well, they both tore ACLs, right? There was no Achilles.
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
correct.
So I think I don't know why my mind went to Achilles for Gus, but that was my worry because of age. I mean, with Achilles, it's more age for me than it is for anything. But I mean, Dobbins is going to be such a value. He is forgotten everywhere. And this running back class coming into NFL drafts, well, I mean, we're going to talk about it this offseason, but it is okay. There's a couple good players. I like Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State. And other than that, I am getting an Akers. I'm going out and getting a Dobbins. Swift's late season fall could drop his value a little bit to where you can go get Swift. I am absolutely loving the Dobbins value because he's so forgotten and people are like, oh, he's not going to catch passes. I tend to agree in a way because of Lamar, but man, he sure can run the ball and that's all we need him to do.
Yeah. Anything on this game, James?
No, not too much. I think we covered most of it.
Van Jefferson's a good buy.
Van Jefferson's a good buy?
It's a second round pick in draft season. I would do it.
I'm going to be interested to see what happens with Robert Woods because I think the Rams are going to be one of those teams. They're going to have to make some. They're going to have to either make some trades or some cuts.
I'm pretty sure he's locked in for the next 2 years.
Yeah, they just re-signed him.
It's going to be
restructure
interesting. Odell Beckham may move on. It was a 1-year deal. Van Jefferson has a lot of potential. So yeah, if you want to go out and purchase Van Jefferson, not on the cheap, you're going to pay his value. What it is right now, it's probably at least a mid second.
It's not a late
early.
First.
No, it's definitely not late first.
No, I didn't say late first. I said mid second.
You were going to.
I said
no.
Second.
Let's move on, boys. No fighting, ladies. All right, let's get on to the Broncos and the Chargers. Yeah, definitely an I mean, the running game for Denver didn't do anything today. The Chargers have been notorious for giving up rushing yards, but it could be because there was a combination of Drew Lock. We saw Brett Rippon. We saw Kendall Hinton. Remember him, the emergency QB? He threw a pass today. Well, we did see Noah Fant actually do something for the first time in a while. 6 for 92 and a touchdown. You started Noah Fant this week. Awesome. He was a tight end 1, and it was amazing. Cortland Sutton, he had a couple of moves in this game that were really, really nice. Sutton is a guy that I've always liked, and coming off the ACL injury, if they get a quarterback, he's another guy that I'm really high on. I just have to say his name because I do every time I can. Albert Okwuegbunam, just because I want to say it. For the Chargers, Eckler does what Eckler does. He gets a touchdown. He gets over 100 yards from scrimmage. Justin Jackson, did get some work in this one, and he looked pretty good. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, so I think he's a sneaky guy that he could end up somewhere and get some work.
Atlanta.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad as a third down passing guy.
Atlanta needs a big all-around running back. Like they need.
Well, Jackson's never going to be the guy. He'll be a complimentary piece.
Javonte Williams. That's who they. Oh wait,
watch.
Hold on.
It's going to be Marlon Mack and Justin Jackson running the ball for
Deonta Foreman and Justin Jackson. But the Chargers didn't have to do much in this game. So I mean, Herbert played pretty well, but Mike Williams has a deep touchdown. Keenan Allen, classic 4 for 44, but he did score. There wasn't really much going on in here. We saw Josh Palmer get a red zone look, which is nice to see. If Mike Williams moves on, I think Palmer is going to be the guy as the number 2 target. And then Jared Cook, who's probably going to, bring him out to the pasture. And obviously we saw the scary injury to Donald Parham, and he's on the IR. But Parham is a guy that I love as a potential starting tight end. And we've seen some positive things from Trey McKitty too. So I think this Chargers offense, even if they don't have Mike Williams, they have some pieces that can step up and do some things, which is nice.
Yeah. Drew Lock, I don't like at all.
You used to love.
He is
Drew Lock,
running back. He's a running back killer. I mean, he hates throwing to the running backs. There was a couple of throws to Melvin Gordon where he just hated doing it. You could feel it. He's just like, ugh.
I don't want to do it. I hate it.
He's just sitting there. He's like, oh, it's only 10 yards. I don't get to chuck it. Ugh. So he just throws it to the running back a couple times. It's Drew. I heard the announcer say Drew Lock is auditioning for his 2021. It may not be with. It's like
in the league.
No, he's not. He is Blake Bortles. That's who he is.
That's fair.
Is, and Blake Bortles might be better than
at
Drew
least.
Lock.
At least Blake Bortles got a team to an AFC Championship game.
100%. Javonte is still really good. Yeah, this was a smash play for me for Javonte, and he did not pan out. It is what it is. They were not scared of Drew Lock beating them, so they went to stop the 2 running backs, and that was a smart play by the Chargers. And we have Dave in the chat saying he's hanging out to his Judy shares. Me as well. I know, Chef, you are not.
Nope.
I differ. I mean, he didn't get any catches because he's got COVID. So Chef is going to take that as a W in this.
Tim Patrick. He equaled Tim Patrick this week. So, we're right there with it.
Beautiful.
Yes. But no, Palmer for all of us is a huge buy. We all love Palmer in here. And yeah, like you said, Doug, getting red zone targets. Herbert seems to really like him and looks for him. And you can tell when Palmer's in and doing one of the main reads in the route, Herbert's not scared to throw it to him.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next game. This one, there's not a lot to glean here except for a very exciting rookie quarterback. For the Houston Texans, they score 7 points. The Niners.
Which one? No.
Yeah. The Niners, I like the way Davis Mills has played. Not in this one so much, but the Niners win 23-7. For the Houston, Brandon Cooks comes off the COVID list, 11 targets, 7 for 66 and a touchdown. He's just good. He's one of those quarterback proof guys is what he's showing. That he's just a good ball player. Rex Burkhead gets a ton of usage here. Cool. He's like 35 years old, whatever. You're interested in Nico Collins. You're
6
interested
receptions for Burkhead though.
Yeah. I mean, is he going to be in the league next year? I don't know. No. You're interested in Nico Collins. You're interested in Brevin Jordan to see what those guys do. Obviously for 2022. For the Niners, we got a sneak peek of what their future might look like. And Trey Lance, I thought, looked pretty dang good. 16 to 23, 249, 2 touchdowns. Did have a pick, but he also ran the ball 8 times for 31 yards. Another thing was Elijah Mitchell. He's been a guy that's been banged up too a little bit here and there. Kind of like Antonio Gibson. He gets banged up, but he plays. Well, he's missed the last couple of weeks, but he comes back, gets all the running back share, 21 carries. Jeff Wilson doesn't touch the friggin' ball. They love Elijah Mitchell.
Yep.
21.
No other running back touched the ball except for Elijah Mitchell.
Yep. So 21 for 119, 2 for 11 through the air and a touchdown. They love Elijah Mitchell. Now, Debo did get 7 carries in this one. I think he got a touchdown called back too. Ayuk has a long reception, 4 for 94. Debo 3 for 63 with a touchdown, which is great. George Kittle, though, my concern with Trey Lance at quarterback is if Kittle's going to be able to get the kind of workload where he's going to be a locked and loaded top 5 tight end next year.
Now, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, and I mentioned what happens when Lance takes over, and then we get the sneak peek this week with Lance at the helm, and we were trying to pick out who was going to be affected the most. Was it going to be Ayuk? Was it going to be Debo? And this week it was George Kittle, and for him to be carrying people to their fantasy championships in weeks 14 and 15 and 16 to bottom out the way he did this week, it's depressing. I mean, you could try to buy him. I don't think I would want to pay full price.
I'm
Not after what
selling.
I just saw today. I mean, he's more of a sell for me, and that if you can get full value for him, absolutely, I'm dishing him off.
Yeah.
Bingo. Talk to me about Trey Lance, Tyler.
He had that one interception, which is a throw to Kittle. It was more of a on a string type throw. He didn't put much air under it, which he'll learn. But other than that, yeah, I mean, the rollouts they had on him, the design runs, Shanahan's going to know how to use them. I still think Shanahan's a little bitter that they didn't go Mac Jones, because Shanahan is like that. Trust me. I know, you should have just ran the ball in the Super Bowl. We would have won. But who am I to say what's good coaching and not? But Shanahan definitely is. I think he'll learn to really like Trey Lance. We all know the story about the pick and how he wanted Mac Jones, and it was Trey Lance. But Trey Lance has shown a lot to me, a lot of growth from his other start he had. Yeah, but I do think that Ayuk will be just fine. What Trey Lance likes to do, he likes to roll out and go deep, and Ayuk will be perfect for that. Another buy we'll talk about is Ayuk, because I think he is a perfect fit for what Trey Lance likes to do. And Elijah Mitchell is going to be one of the most interesting offseason stories, because I do think he is the starter. And I think that, I mean, we've just seen production every time he touches the field. He is a very good running back. The issue is how many touches will he last? Because he's not a big framed guy. He's built like Alvin Kamara, but his injury history is a little larger than Kamara.
Yeah, like I said, he's been playing banged up for a good part of the season, for sure. All right, let's move on to the next game. The Arizona Cardinals squeak one out against the Dallas Cowboys, 25-22. Kyler looked good in this game. Actually had some passing touchdowns. Yeah, he had 2 of them. Put nine carries for 44 yards on the ground. James Conner was not a late scratch, but he was inactive. So if you had to late swap like I did, that was great. Great opportunity for Chase Edmonds. He didn't do a ton with it. I mean, he got a lot of touches. He got 23 touches for about 80 yards, no scores. Christian Kirk led the team in targets once again, 6 for 79. Antoine Wesley, he's becoming a thing. Like, he's been pretty steady for Kyler Murray. 2 touchdowns today. I don't know where this kid came from.
I'm so mad about it, because I was staring at him when I got the news for Connor. And I'm like, do I pick him up or do I just play Jamal Williams? And I wound up playing Jamal Williams. And I should have picked up Antoine Wesley. I would have been looking at another W.
So Wesley, who's he remind you guys of? I've watched a lot of him lately. I don't know.
Michael Pittman?
No,
he's
I see
more
Robbie
like
Anderson.
Really? I don't think he's that. I'm thinking like the way that he's structured. Like, he reminds me of Michael Pittman.
Structured wise, like body frame. He's a very slender, tall guy. Maybe his comp is Slender Man. Maybe that's it.
Maybe
he's
gonna go viral.
I don't know if he's. I don't know what's his measurements.
He's 6'4", about 200.
206, 6'4", 206.
From Texas Tech. He's 24. He'll be 25 next season. I think once Hopkins comes back and they get Rondell Moore, who I do agree they are going to try to implement more in the offense next season.
If they're smart.
Yeah. Wesley will kind of be an afterthought, but hey, if you can get a third.
He'll be like Andy Isabella.
Yeah, if you can get like a third.
Greg Dortch sighting, by the way.
Right?
I was like, whoa, Greg Dortch is making plays.
Travis May's favorite draft pick that year.
That was the first person I thought of, was like, oh man, Dortch is making plays. Where's Travis at? He's going to be glowing somewhere. Let's talk about the Cowboys a little bit. Dak starts off really slow after his great game last week, but ends up picking it up. He gets you 3 touchdown passes, which you love to see. Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard, puked all over their shoes. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. Unfortunately, this is the terrible news. I hate it when a receiver tears his ACL, regardless, but especially one going into his free agent year. We saw it with Chris Godwin a couple of weeks ago. Gallup catches a touchdown. It's
Beautiful
pretty much
catch.
it's pretty much been confirmed that he did tear his ACL. Went 3 for 36 with a touchdown. Cedric Wilson had a touchdown. Amari Cooper, but he got you a touchdown. 3 for 18. Again, Dalton Schultz, 10 freaking targets. He's like the steady drumbeat in this offense.
It's gross.
It's bizarre to me.
It's so gross. I mean, when they can't do the play action pass, CeeDee Lamb struggles because he can't get enough time to get open because the pass rush is coming at Dak. And I know they had their left tackle Smith back, but man, if they can't run the ball, they struggle on offense passing the ball. And the thing is Zeke anymore? I haven't really seen it.
There was one run that he had. It was like 15 yards, and it got called back. And I was like, "Whoa, Zeke looked like fast on that play." But that was the only time I saw it.
Yeah, it's going to be hard because they got that contract. They're going to have an interesting offseason. I do think. I mean, everybody's talking about CeeDee Lamb being the number one wide receiver in Dynasty.
Nope.
Well, that ain't true anymore.
Nope.
Because he's fighting with targets next season. Yes, Gallup will be gone, but I do think they like Cedric Wilson a lot out of Boise.
He's played well.
He's played well when Gallup's been hurt. Gallup, I do think he is done. He could be Kansas City's number 2 receiver. It'll be interesting to see how long he takes to recover from the ACL, but he's got 8 months until the week 1. So
yeah.
He might have some time to recover. We've seen ACLs go from being a year and a half to now, I don't know, 8
Cam
9
Akers'
months.
Achilles is like 6 months, so
Yeah.
anything is possible. I like it. All right, let's move on. This next game was a turd. It was the New Orleans Saints 18, Carolina Panthers 10. Darnold stinks. Chuba Hubbard's inefficient. He got you a touchdown, cool. And Ian Thomas led the team in receiving.
God.
That's all you need to know.
Terrace Marshall, first game,
2 targets.
Yeah.
Woo!
I mean, I didn't even see him on the field a bunch because what's his name? Shi Smith. He actually became the quote unquote slot receiver for him. But man, the player that's gonna be interesting is DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, start off crazy hot, and now
he's got 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons now.
Yeah, but I mean,
needs a quarterback.
Yeah,
bad.
And I think they're the team that takes a quarterback first. I think
trades
Carolina,
for Deshaun Watson.
They're the Deshaun Watson front runners.
I mean, if Watson goes to Carolina, oh boy, like
with McCaffrey and Moore and Robbie, I like that. I like that a lot.
All of the players get a boost.
Mm-hmm. For New Orleans, Taysom Hill played okay. Led the team in rushing with 45 yards. Kamara, he did get you a touchdown, 100 yards from scrimmage. A player that's been coming on at the end of the season here for the last few weeks has been Marquez Callaway. Now, I know a lot of people blew Fab on him, like in Scott Fishbowl and early in the season.
Not only Fab.
Yes. But, he was a preseason darling. He looked great in the preseason. And if you spent that money on him, you were like, where's my return on investment? Well, you didn't get it until the last few weeks. But Callaway, he had a couple drops in this one, but a lot of targets. I think he's an interesting player to have on your roster as your wide receiver 4 or 5. But I kind of low key like Callaway. I don't think he's the number 1 guy, and he was forced into that role because Michael Thomas, if he ever plays football for the Saints again, who knows? But Callaway is a guy that I do like, and I think he's a solid NFL receiver who I like having on my roster, and I wouldn't mind getting him in some deals as I'll get your Marquez Callaway, and I'll give you a player that maybe I don't like as much to get Callaway back. Maybe there's a player that someone values more than I do, type of thing. But
Robbie Anderson.
This game was booty cheeks. That's all I'm saying.
Both teams need a quarterback.
Agreed with the quarterback situation. One last thing about Marquez Callaway. He got a lot of targets today. There was no other competition on the field. Little Jordan Humphrey banged up, did not practice that much this week. Deontay Harris or Dante? I can't say his name right.
I think it's Deontay, yeah.
Deontay Harris, same situation. Traquan Smith was out.
Yeah.
Of this matchup. I believe due to COVID. So
Sounds about right.
yeah, it's kind of going around right now.
Yeah, right.
That led Marquez Callaway to be the odd man out. Just, hey, you're the only one really left to stretch the field as the primary wide receiver. And the Carolina Panthers have been almost dead last against perimeter wide receivers the past 4 weeks. So I think it was just a product of things aligning correctly, more so than you can trust him. I like that he holds a little bit of value right now as the face of the wide receiver core, but I'm capitalizing on that, if anything. And I think if people see this and say, oh, wow, he did good up against Carolina, their defense was really good this season, I'm trying to dish him off as well.
Agreed. Let's get into the last game here. Seattle Seahawks, out of nowhere, score 51 points. Detroit Lions, 29 points. Everyone is super jazzed to get DeAndre Swift back this week. They say he's going to get his full workload. You read the blurbs. 4 carries for 32 yards and 2 receptions for 7 yards. Dun, 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 dun. It's a trap. DeAndre Swift, that's a tough one to eat, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown continues.
He's a god.
He's a sun god. God dang it. 11 more targets, 8 for 111 and a touchdown. And you know what he did? He's like, you know what? I'll throw in a rushing touchdown. I'll get you 2 touchdowns. I'll get you 133 yards from scrimmage. And I'll be a wide receiver 1. Amon-Ra St. Brown, league winner in his rookie year for you these last few weeks, has been awesome. I'm really excited for next year when they get Hawkinson back. They have Amon-Ra. They're probably going to have a lot of money in free agency, so they're probably going to sign somebody. And then they still have Swift, who I love, and so does Tyler. For Seattle, Russell Wilson bounce back game, 4 touchdowns. But this was all about Rashad Penny, man. Like 25 for 170 and 2 touchdowns. He had over 100 yards at the half. He's a thick boy. I'll put it that way. It's going to be interesting.
My favorite part was when he was running. When he was running on one of the runs,
You could see everything moving.
He saw some open field, and you know how like you and I, when we want to take off, we put our
You like
head down.
swing your arm in a weird way to like balance yourself.
Like we look down to be like a little more aerodynamic, and we just get really into it. That's what Penny did. Like a lot of like super athletic people, they keep their head straight and they try to not bounce their head as much. That's the whole key to keep a good pace and everything. Penny did not care. Like he put his head down and you could tell he just pushed on that oomph button and just took off. But that oomph button was not as full.
Instead of trying to balance himself with his feet, he's so top heavy. He was like using his arm like a windmill to balance himself at one point. And I was like,
the whole Baker Mayfield running down the field.
I feel this in my core I spent much of my life as a heavier set guy that played football and other sports. I was like, I feel this. This is me right here. But DK Metcalf bounces back with a huge game for you. So if you made the championship game and DK was on your roster, congrats. 3 touchdowns,
Why?
6 for 63.
He didn't help me win. Thank you.
Yeah. But he's got 12 or 13 touchdowns on the season. So I know the last month for DK has been disappointing, but at least he did deliver here. Tyler Lockett got a short touchdown and didn't really do much otherwise. He was suffering from some after effects of COVID, so his snap count was down. Rashad Penny is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So guys like him, Sony Michel are going to be free agents. It's going to be super interesting to see where they land. I don't think Seattle's going to – I mean, they have Chris Carson.
Who just resigned.
So maybe they bring back Penny to back him up. I don't know.
I was looking at it right now, and I have it in front of me. Chris Carson has a potential out.
Yeah.
$3 million cap hit in
Which
2022.
in today's league isn't much. Yeah.
And the fact that Russell Wilson, his cap could actually be off of the team roster.
That is true.
So they could, they could bring him back.
I think they try to squeeze Chris Carson out, but I mean, don't leave that out of them trying to draft another running back, because they draft 2 every year.
This team
they took in the first round.
This team could look completely different next year too. So what you could say is like, hey, Penny had some open lanes because of Russ Wilson. I mean, it's also the Lions as well. So
worst rushing team in the NFL.
I mean, Penny, I'm gonna kind of loop him in with Singletary. Just I feel like it's kind of a late season trap, and if I were able to get away from him for, hey, if you have both on your team, package them and get an early second and a third.
Yeah, I like Singletary more than Penny personally.
Yeah,
This Penny
a single penny. Combine the two. You get a single
A
penny.
single solitary penny. So, how you like that? Single solitary penny?
I gotta go. That was dumb.
Hey.
That was terrible.
Well, that is going to wrap us up for this week. There is a game going on right now, Minnesota and Green Bay.
It's not much of a game.
Devontae Adams is doing Devontae Adams things, and Sean Mannion stinks out loud, and it's affecting everyone on that team.
Put him in.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I have a lot of Mond on my roster, so I'd like to see what he can do, but that's interesting. So I want to thank our sponsors, Fantasy Points. Like I said, go onto their website. You can pre-order, get 25% off for next year's package, the Greg Cosell, the draft stuff, everything's exciting about Dynasty is going on Fantasy Points, so make sure you check that out. And then also check out Trophy Smack. Like I said, you need a trophy, trophysmack.com. They're Mark Cuban backed. They've been on Shark Tank. They are the most legit trophy company in the business. Use code DHHRING to get yourself a $60 value. We saw James flaunting it. He's going, I'm going to punch you guys. You pay me, you give me my money. There it is right there on screen if you're watching on anything like that. This show over this game. Dave, you are not wrong. This show is greater than the game that is currently going on. So if you watched us instead of the game, thank you. And
subscribe on YouTube.
And thank you for joining us during the season. I want to give a shout out again to Chasing Points for filling in every other week. The regular season is tough for Dynasty, but now we are going to hit the bread and butter. Like I said, we get that jolt of energy. Like I just drank a Rain or a Bang energy, and I'm jacked up, and I am ready to go. And I'm excited to bring that energy for you next week when we redraft this 2021 rookie class. So join us next week on the Dynasty Happy Hour.